Hey Guardians, it's Godcork here. Thank you for joining me today as we talk about a raid. What are raids? It's a 6-man activity where we go on adventures doing mechanics, killing bosses, and getting sweet, sweet loot. Alrighty then. With the introduction of LightFall, it is time to do an updated raid guide. Most raid guides I look at are from 2020 and feel outdated, just like not hitting the like and subscribe button. All jokes aside, I have created an updated raid guide based on my over 50 clears of the raid. But before we get started, I would like to thank my clan's stellar force, without which this wouldn't be possible. Deepstone Crypt, or DSC for short, is a Fallen themed raid that was added with Beyond Light DLC. Before we start talking about the raid, I must advise on some suggested weapons, such as Xenophage, Parasite, Lament, Risk Runner, Arbalist, and Taipans or rockets. The enemies attack with every damage type, but with most Fallen themed content, Arc Resist is your friend. We start this raid in Eventide Ruins and have to open a door to the raid by killing the enemy Fallen defending it. This is an opening encounter, Desolation, and not considered a true raid encounter. There will be Void shielded captains and brigs. I would suggest a Void weapon and high damage heavy for the brigs. Once you enter, you will encounter a debuff of Frostbite, which at 10 stacks will kill you. The bubbles will provide the shelter of the storm buff, removing the frostbite effect, and each bubble you reach will be a checkpoint, and if you die, it will return you to it. You need to move from heat bubble to heat bubble using a Sparrow to get to the next door. You may use the pikes, but they are slower than the Sparrow. After the second heat bubble, each bubble will have 2 waves of enemies, and at the last bubble, there will be Fallen brigs. The bubbles have transmats that can be used to move you backwards. This can be used if your teammates need assistance. Once you have reached the final bubble, there is a secret chest to the right of the airlock. If this is your first to completion, you'll not receive weapons or armor from this chest. It'll just be mods. It only provides rewards that you have earned from the encounters. Okay, once the airlock's open and you move through, follow the path on your Sparrow where you will enter a building and reach the first encounter. Welcome to the first encounter, which is Crypt Security. The team needs to destroy 6 large fuses to complete the encounter. You'll need something to deal with overload captains like an SMG during Season 20, and for fuses you'll want a Xenophage, 1K, or Warcliffe Coil for damage with a matching weapon surge. In order to gain access to the fuses, the team will need to divide and conquer. The room is divided into 3 sections: the light room, where the raid banner is, and it is lit up; the dark room, which is similar to the light room, but it is dark; and finally the basement. When starting the encounter, you will want everyone divided between the light and dark rooms. One person needs to go to the augmentation station and take the operator buff. The operator is indicated by a red icon. Their main purpose, as the name indicates, is to operate, as they can shoot various raid mechanics to trigger various effects. They will start the encounter by picking up the buff from the augmentation station. A hacker vandal will spawn in the dark room carrying the scanner. The scanner is indicated by the yellow icon. Your dark team will need to kill the hacker vandal, and someone will need to take the scanner. The scanner will need to look through the glass down into the basement and tell the operator which keypads to shoot. There are 5 keypads per side. Only 2 keypads will activate on each side and glow yellow for the scanner. My team uses 1 through 5 for our keypad callouts, with 1 being farthest from the rally banner and 4 and 5 being closest to the rally banner. 4 and 5 share the same viewpoint for the scanner when looking top down. 5 would be on the wall and 4 is on the pillar. Once the darkroom scanner has found the 2 keypads and knows their positions, they can transfer the scanner augment in the augmentation station, and the designated light rooms get into position to shoot the fuses. The scanner in the basement will look at the basement's fuses, which are directly below the upstairs fuses, and will direct the team to which fuse to shoot. If the wrong fuse is shot, it will wipe the team. To prevent this, if you are new and unsure, let your teammates shoot the fuse first and you shoot it after. It is better not to do damage than to wipe the team. Once the damage phase is over, the basement scanner can read all the keypads if confident, or send the scanner up and have the person with the operator buff go down, which would release the original operator, and the person releasing them becomes the next operator. You would repeat this until all 6 fuses are destroyed. Once completed, a door will open on the dark side.
Orbital status, stand by. Humanoid life forms detected, approaching clarity control. Threat determined, Crypt compromised. Nuclear descent protocol recommended. Clarity control breached. A single unregistered exo and a single life form of unknown biology detected in the Crypt laboratory. Status disastrous. Notice, vacate the premises immediately. This will be your only warning.
The second encounter is defeating Atrax 1. The team needs to do enough damage to the correct Atrax in each phase to defeat him. There are no champions here, and burst damage is required. My suggestion is for everyone to use the guns Parasite and Lament. If you do not have the Parasite, here's a list of guns in order of best to worst based on my opinion. Grand Overture, Lament, Fourth Horseman with Falling Guillotine, Fourth Horseman with a normal sword, and then normal sword. Supers should always be burst damage focused with one person running well. This means Hunters using Blade Barrage, Gathering Storm, Silence and Squall, or Mobius Quiver with Star Eater Scales equipped, Titans using Thunder Crash with Curse of the Falling Star, and Warlocks using Well of Radiance, Cataclysm, Nova Bomb, or Needlestorm. Also, make sure everyone has the appropriate weapon surges. In order to complete the encounter, the team needs to divide up once again. This encounter is divided into two sections, the ground floor and space. The only way to travel between the ground and space is by using the elevators called launch pods. Traditionally, 3 players take the elevators to space and 3 players stay on the ground floor. To start the encounter, someone walks through the orb opposite side of spawn. One of the players on the space team will want to stay back on the ground and collect the operator buff from the operator vandal that will spawn on the ground floor. They will head up to the space team after collecting the buff, and once in space, shoot elevator keybats to send elevators down so that 3 elevators are waiting for the ground team. The remaining ground team will kill all the adds and sentinel servitors. Note, killing all the servitors in space and ground will initiate the damage phase. To avoid initiating the damage phase too early, the space team will leave the right servitor alive, delaying the damage phase. A space team member needs to find the scanner buff in space by defeating the scanner vandal. Once the scanner buff is collected, the player with the buff will stand close to the elevators, looking at the many Atrax 1 replicants, and another team member will kill the final servitor. The scanner needs to spot the replicant that is glowing yellow and signal to his teammates which one to damage. Using a 3-2-1 countdown makes sure everyone damages at the same time, normally works out perfectly to maximize that burst damage window. If the wrong one is damaged, the team will wipe. Once the replicant dies, a purple cloud will remain, similar to the orb that started the encounter. The player that ran through the purple cloud will have a 42-second debuff called Atrax 1 Replication. If the debuff reaches 0, the team will wipe. The debuff timer can be reset by having the operator shoot the debuff periodically and the player re-pick up the debuff. If not picked up, it will wipe the team. The scanner will send the scanner buff to the ground team via the augmentation terminals available around the room. A player on the ground team will pick up the buff and scan for the correct replicant. Note, while on ground team and waiting for the scanner buff, waiting on top of the middle augmentation station will provide the best protection while keeping you close to the buff. The damage phase for the ground team will be the same as the space team, where one member needs to walk through the debuff cloud. Afterward, they need to head through the elevators to space so their debuff can be refreshed by the operator. The scanner will place their buff in the augmentation terminal to repeat this. If you are not able to bring the boss to final stand or find juggling the debuff too difficult, go to one of the 4 airlocks on the sides of the encounter that are in space. Have the person with a debuff stand next to the airlock. The operator will open the airlock by shooting the keypad next to the airlock, and once the debuffed player is in the airlock, the operator will shoot the debuff off their head. The debuffed player can easily die by standing in the airlock too long and can accidentally re-pick up the debuff while in the airlock. If you do not take the boss to final stand, the encounter will give you pause and Sentinel servers will respawn. This is the time to remove the debuff before clearing the ads in Sentinel servers and continuing DPS. Another method for completing the encounter is to have 3 Titans with Parasite, Solar Surge, and Curse of the Falling Star on the space floor. Shoot with the Parasite and Thunder Crash immediately afterwards to take him to final stand, with everyone else providing some extra damage of their own. Once you have the final chunk of health for the boss, it will be the final stand, and the space scanner will keep the buff for the remainder of the encounter. Final stand is in space and everyone should be there waiting. This is a rapid fire of replicants where scanner will have to jump from replicant to replicant, calling out for DPS until the boss is killed. I normally swap to Lament for the final stand. The scanner will head to the elevators to have a better vantage point, and normally we have a swell there for us to gain our solar surges and stay alive.
When Atrax has been defeated, a door will open on the right of the space room, and everyone needs to enter an airlock at the end of its hall. At this point, I would suggest having an in-game music on and people to stay quiet for the moment. For ambiance sake, this jumping puzzle requires in-game music to be on. So keep that in mind. Also, make sure your teammates are respecting the scenery and being quiet. This is a jumping puzzle and swords will help. Just follow catwalks. At the end, you will see the door to the next encounter. The left catwalk has a secret chest. I know it's not really that secret. You walk past it no matter what, but there's a chest nonetheless.
Artificial intelligence activated. Enjoying yourselves, intruders? It's worth knowing the cataclysmic damage you will be responsible for today. Do not fool yourselves. This facility is not simply the fruitless work of some pathetic scientist. This house was built by the genius Clovis Bray the First himself. Within lies humanity's salvation. La Fontaine du Jouvence. Made possible by clarity control. Magnificent one. An entity from beyond our own dimension. And the answer to humanity's eternal struggle. Mortality. Were it to fall into the wrong hands, humanity and the universe would be utterly doomed. I have no reason to believe you are anything other than the wrong hand. You now face godlike judgment. May it extend eternally.
Guardian down.
We are at the third encounter, and we are preventing Europa's destruction by crashing the space station. There are Overload Captains once again. Risk Runner is great for getting damage resistance after being hit by Arc, and with Fallen, you will be hit by Arc. Some other suggestions include Stasis Turrets for controlling the ads, Swords for flying around if you have Eager Edge, and Osteostriga for some ad clear. You want to be able to wipe out 10 plus ads without being overwhelmed by their arc damage. This time you are in one room and you're introduced to the new buff Suppressor, which drops from, you guessed it, a Suppressor Vandal. At this point, it is best to have 4 people comfortable with all 3 buffs because their respective Vandals will spawn randomly throughout the room at the start of the encounter, and they will need to exchange the buff at random. The method of preventing Europa's destruction is by depositing nuclear cores in the 4 bins in mid that the scanner calls out. Unfortunately, during the third encounter, you might see Tanix there, but he will be immune for the entire phase. Only the Suppressor can hurt him, and it's going to do 0 damage. How the encounter proceeds is that 3 players will pick up a buff. 1 will be a scanner, 1 will be the operator, and 1 will be a suppressor. After a moment, a siren will go off, and 3 out of the 4 keypads will glow red, and the operator will shoot one of them. Yes, only one. Shooting another will do nothing. The keypads are over the nuclear dispensers. Once shot, it will prevent a 3rd nuclear core from spawning, and spawn 2 nuclear cores which will need to be deposited in the correct bins. The correct bins are called out by the scanner, who should be close to mid to make the callouts. Most teams use the callouts L1, R1 for closest to spawn, and L2, R2 for closest to boss. You may also use left or right spawn, left or right boss. Just make sure your team knows where to go. The operator and scanner can carry nuclear cores to the bin as well. The suppressor decides how soon we may dunk the cores into the bins. They stand under 3 different security drones and shoot Tanix, which should be glowing blue for them. I suggest starting on the left side always, and the suppressor stays on the left catwalk until it is time to suppress. If you start on the right side, the boss may be difficult to hit under the left security drone. Tick damage is great for suppressing quickly like Witherhoard or Osteostriga. Once suppressed, it will be possible to dunk the nuclear cores into the bins. When the nuclear core is spawned, you have a couple of seconds to pick it up. It is best to have the operator far right close to the right nuclear dispenser and augment station, and an ad clear far left next to the left nuclear dispenser to carry them if they spawn there. The players that carry the nuclear cores will get a debuff called Radiation, which kills you at 10 stacks. To avoid this, have teammates pick up the nuclear core from you. Once both nuclear cores are deposited, a player's augment will be disabled. They need to deposit their augment into an augmentation station and allow their 4th teammate to take over their duties. This is repeated 5 more times, and once completed, a hatch will open in the center of the room. Your team needs to sprint to the end. Only one person needs to get through the final doors for the team not to wipe. It is best to have two just in case the architects have other plans for your fire team. Once cleared, you are in the wreckage of a crash station and a chest appears.
It is now open to all. Allies and enemies alike. If you do not defend it, the results will be wounds. Humanity's fate is now on you. Best of luck.
We are now on the final encounter. Defeat Taniks, the Abomination. The augments and jobs will be similar to the previous encounter with some added complexity. There are no champions here. Looking at the current damage meta, I suggest Divinity and Taipans for fireteam accessibility, even with the recent linear fusion rifle nerf. But this can be done with Rockets and Gallahorn, Thunderlord, Leviathan's Breath, and other builds with appropriate surges. You will benefit from a well, and if using a legendary heavy and energy weapon, Arbalest is a great choice for the primary slot exotic. The area can be divided into thirds. Starting at the rally banner, we have spawn, blue, then orange sections. Each section has 2 bins, 3 security drones, and 1 augmentation station. We have 1 augment vandal at each section, operator at spawn, scanner at blue, and suppressor at orange. You will need to kill enemies in these sections to spawn the vandals. You should split the team up to 3 teams of 2 and have 1 member from each team pick up the buff. Scanner will need to look at the bins in each section to tell where the nuclear cores will need to be deposited. You can use a callout like left, right, whichever section, or 1 through 6, where 1 is left spawn and 6 is right orange, aka 1 through 6 clockwise starting at spawn. To begin the encounter, someone will need to shoot the trash pile in the mid or move toward it, which will cause Taniks to pop out. After a moment, Taniks will move to a specific section, and 2 thrusters will need to be destroyed to stop him from wiping the team and dropping 1 nuclear core from each. Arbalest is great for this. Note, during his first phase, he does not move to blue. He will use a meteor attack when his thrusters are damageable, and these big purple columns will kill you if you stand inside them. If you shoot more than 2 thrusters, the scanner will need to call out the next open bin, which is never in the section that Taniks is in. If you shoot all 4, you will bank in all the bins that Taniks is not in front of. Like before, the radiation debuff will start ticking, and at 10 stacks, Guardians will die, so make sure you have a buddy exchanging it with you. Periodically, Taniks will trap a core carrier in a purple sphere, and the operator will need to break the sphere. The sphere can suck people into it if they are too close, so don't have core carriers bunched up. The operator and suppressor should not carry cores. When the nuclear cores have dropped, Taniks will glow blue for the suppressor, and they will need to stand under the security drones closest to Taniks and shoot him to suppress him. On the orange section, you can stand under the catwalk and shoot him to suppress him. This will allow the core carriers to deposit the cores, but will also deactivate and augment. The suppressor should make sure the operator has popped the bubble before suppressing, otherwise the player in the bubble will need to die to remove the bubble. The deactivated player will deposit their augment into the augmentation station, and another player will take over. You will repeat the process of dunking the nuclear cores, and once all 4 are deposited, it will be DPS phase. The other method, and more popular method, of reaching DPS phase is to shoot all 4 thrusters and deposit all 4 nuclear cores at once. You'll need a fast suppressor and a fast core runner to achieve this. Make sure the operator is close to one group in case they need help with radiation, and the suppressor runs to the other group to assist them. Once all 4 nuclear cores are deposited, the fire team needs to head to the number 2 bin or right spawn bin. You have enough time to deposit the disabled augment now too. Tanix will summon 2 bubbles around him. The outermost one will have flying debris that will fling you or kill you, and the inner bubble will do arc damage over time. I suggest jumping over the debris. You want to stand in between the 2 bubbles. Occasionally the boss will push you out of the bubble and you will need to reposition. I will normally try to cancel this with a melee or thunder crash or reload while being pushed out. When the damage phase ends, just rinse and repeat. Start dunking those cores once again. Get that augment out of the augmentation station that was deactivated. You will have 3 damage phases before then enrage. Once you are about 15% of his health, he will teleport from section to section and you'll need to kill him before he wipes the team. He will be throwing those meteors once again, so stay out of the purple. Once he is dead, you will get your chest and the option to buy a red border weapon. Congratulations, you have just completed the raid, and thank you for watching. And if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Share it with your friends. Let's get out there and get this raid done and get that sweet, sweet loot that we know and love. And I've been your host, God Quark. Thank you, everybody, and have a great one.